Hello guys, I'm Orbiter, your Welsh engineer, and this time we're going to be sending a single launch space station to Jool. Well, more specifically, we're going to send this in orbit around Laythe. So let's get this into orbit, and you may recognize this craft, slightly modified. This is in fact the single launch space station that I built in a tutorial. I showed you how to build it, I showed you how to launch it, and to assemble it in orbit. The only thing I did to it was add 4 more boosters onto it, because I wasn't sure if I had enough Delta V to get this to Jool, to get this into orbit around Laythe, because I wanted to make this easy as possible for anyone to copy, just in case someone wanted to do exactly what I did in this video, because the craft is there available to download on the previous video. I'll probably even upload this craft with the extra boosters. Oh yes, and I forgot, these boosters had a tendency to hit the center core, smashing it to smithereens. That's why, if you're using this, make sure you're pointing directly at the prograde vector, which I'm doing right now, when you're separating those boosters. Otherwise, they can easily destroy the center rocket. Although what you could do is add extra, separatrons to separate them from the center rocket and make sure they don't hit the center rockets. Anyway, luckily we survived on this count, because in the first try it did smash the center rocket, and I thought it was because I wasn't pointing prograde enough. If I can get those words out. Okay, some lovely cinematic shots of us flying by, showing the construction of this behemoth space station. It's not really that big, is it? I suppose I have to outdo myself one time with one of these space stations. Anyway, sending this on the way to Jool, separating the boosters, another awesome shot as the rocket goes into the distance, and watch as the boosters just suddenly freeze as we get out to the physics load range. I'll have to install a physics range extender mod onto this save, because I'm currently running version 1.4.3 at the moment, and I haven't even added the DLC to this version yet. Anyway, getting back to what's on screen, we're going to get ourselves into a highly elliptical orbit around Jool. This is very important because you want the highest point in your orbit to adjust, so you can use less Delta V to get into the same orbit as Laythe. Now it takes a couple of hundred of meters per second to do this maneuver. We'll set Laythe as our target, raise our orbit height so that the periapsis gets very close, just under the orbit of Laythe. And as you can see, it was very easy for us to create a maneuver node at our apoapsis to get an encounter with Laythe. Now do note your maneuver node doesn't have to be specifically at apoapsis, and if you wonder what I'm doing by here, we're not in the exact plane of the orbit of Laythe, and because we're going to get in a weird orbit around Laythe if we carry on that. So we flattened our orbit out, set the maneuver node. As you see, I'm adjusting it to get an encounter with Laythe. Getting very close. We got an encounter with Tylo, I think, by there. And then we've got an encounter with Laythe. And do note, you don't have to have the maneuver node specifically on top of the apoapsis. Just move the maneuver node about a bit, because I forget to do that sometimes as well. And also, on these very low burns, like 1.5 meters per second, then put the thrust limiter down on your rocket engine. That makes it a lot easier to control. You can see, even though I've done that, we have overshot our maneuver, or I think it was because we're using RCS, which is trying to keep us under control. That set us in a different orientation. Okay, never mind, we can redo a maneuver node to get into orbit. And hey presto, we're on our way. Also, let me know if you enjoy this music. I just thought I'd try something different. Something a bit epic for the beginning, and then a bit spacey, and sort of, I don't know, would you call this exciting? Because I know there's a lot of very tasteful music for listening to KSP. And even on times, I want some exciting music, especially when you're coming into deorbit and you're entering the atmosphere. But then sometimes I want something, I don't know, soothing, I suppose, the easy way to say it. That way, that's when you're trying to dock and you need to be patient when you're docking. Anyway, let's talk a bit about space news. 2 good things have happened. We have launched our InSight mission to Mars. I can't remember when we sent that off. Countdown to landing as of the recording this is 195 days, 23 hours, 12 minutes and 15 seconds. Yes, I'm on the Mars website, so I make sure I get everything right. What's awesome about this mission is they've sent 2 CubeSats with this mission, which are going to detach on their way to Mars, and they're going to fly by Mars, relaying the landing of their lander. It's not a rover this time, it's a lander, which is a change for NASA. However, they are going to send another Curiosity type rovers in the future, in 2020 I believe. Anyway, they're going to be relaying the landing and any data that the lander has while it's landing. Also, what's cool about this, it has a really sensitive seismometer, so any earthquakes, and I mean slight earthquakes, they'll detect it. It's so sensitive they have to put a dome around it, which is mad because the wind on Mars is really low. Now, it gets up to 60 miles per hour, but the atmosphere on Mars is 1% that on Earth, so that means the atmosphere is really not that strong. Now, you have those huge dust storms, and that's because the dust that the winds pick up are really small. Anyway, let's get this station built, and while I'm building that, let's get and read this thing, which I found interesting. This is on NASA website. It's on about the winds on Mars, and this bit, focusing on wind speeds may be a little misleading as well. The atmosphere on Mars is 1% dense as that on Earth. That means to fly a kite on Mars, the wind would need to blow much faster than that on Earth to get a kite in the air. And as I said, the fastest wind speeds recorded on Mars was 60 miles per hour. So you'd have to have hurricane winds on Mars faster than that on Earth just to get a kite into flying. Now, this is interesting because they're going to be sending a helicopter to Mars. At least it's been approved that they're going to send a helicopter with a lander or something, and this helicopter is going to sort of like fly in short flights around Mars. Now, I thought with all these technologies that you have with these little helicopter toys and that, why didn't they use that, send them a load of them to Mars and fly them around? This explains everything that you need. The blades will have to be larger, the rotation of the blades will have to be a lot faster, which they've taken into account with this mini helicopter they're sending, and it's going to be impractical basically. I think KSP Duner atmosphere is a lot thicker. And that's why, even when they're using parachutes, they either have to use rockets, sky cranes, or bounce the rover or, the rovers around, which they have done so. They've done all 3 of them. They've landed via rockets, they've landed via airbags, and they've landed via sky crane, which I think the sky crane is absolutely awesome, even if it's probably the less efficient of all of them. Anyway, while I was talking, we have just assembled the habitation spaces of the station, including the ore processing module and a fuel tank. That's it, fuel tank. I forgot what it's called. Now we have to assemble a truss system so that we can get power to the station and make sure that everything's, well, cooled down, because we've got the radiators on this as well. Now, when you're assembling these, make sure that your solar panels are pointing up. As you probably notice on this docking, I wasn't concentrating on the orientation of the solar panels and the radiators, because yes, I flip it over and I attach it this way. Also, do note that if you're constructing this space station around Jool or somewhere further from the sun, these pylons that I'm attaching here with the solar panels and everything on them, they have small solar panels on them to make sure they have enough charge to operate. But what I didn't take into account is that these small solar panels, they don't provide enough power to keep the batteries charged on the, the space probes that I've hidden in there. So if you're going to use these, perhaps attach some batteries or something, or larger solar panels, or perhaps just open up one of the solar arrays that we've got on there. But definitely add some batteries, because that will help a lot. In fact, I may do that in the craft file, Or perhaps I won't, because I'll probably be lazy and I'll just upload this and, yeah, see what happens. Anyway, last solar panel array on, and there we can power the station up. I thought this would be a cool shot, docking the last module while Jool was rising in the background, except I keep on bringing the EOI up all the time. Anyway, that's done. Let's decouple the rocket, separate ourselves. I should have put a probe core on that rocket that I can deorbit it. Oh yes, and by the way, we had 1000 meters per second left in that rocket, so we had more than enough delta V to get this to Jool. Now let's get Val on EVA to inspect the space station, make sure everything's working and the Kraken is not attacking us, because the Kraken does live around Jool area. You'll probably see it. It's one of the Easter eggs in Kerbal. I can't remember which moon. No, I won't tell you. I'll let you explore yourself. Internet search probably. Anyway, tell me if you enjoyed this video. If you like this craft file, it's available on a link to download. I'll put a link in the video for the tutorial on how to build this. The extra boosters will not be in the tutorial though, and all I can say here is I'm more beta. Trust me, I'm an engineer, sending space stations to there and beyond, or something like that. Anyway guys, I'll catch you in the next video.